The first alien ship came out of warp above Earth's moon, its hull scorched from entry through forbidden coordinates, its crew trembling. They hadn't come to fight, not yet. They came to watch. To study. To confirm the rumors whispered across the spiral arms, that humanity, the so-called forgotten species, had done something impossible. The commander of the vessel, an Etherian warlord named Salek, stared at the blue marble of Earth below. His clawed hands gripped the railing as the data feeds rolled across the holodisplay. No orbital defense grid, no visible warships, no signs of planetary shields. It looked like a pre-warp backwater, primitive and defenseless. But Salek's instincts screamed otherwise. His ancestors had fought the void wars, and he could feel the wrongness in the silence. The emptiness wasn't natural, it was deliberate. A silence so complete it could only have been engineered. Then the whisper reached him. A transmission, faint and ancient, encoded in every language known to galactic history. A voice, human in tone, but older than the warlord could comprehend. If you have come to make war, the voice said, soft and clear, turn back. For we have buried our wrath beneath the stars, and it sleeps only until called. Salek froze. His crew looked to him, their eyes wide with terror. He demanded the source, but the signal was not coming from the planet. It came from behind them. The dark side of the moon shimmered. Something vast moved, silent, angular, older than any ship he had ever seen. The hull was blacker than the void, matte and invisible until it shifted, and then the moonlight bent around it, revealing outlines so colossal they eclipsed the stars. Salek screamed for evasive maneuvers. But before his ship could move, the air around them changed, no, not air, but space itself. The stars rippled like water. A gravitational wave pulsed outward, flattening their systems. The alien ship's engines failed, its weapons disarmed, and in the silence that followed, the human vessel spoke. Unauthorized approach detected. Stand down or be purged. The voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The tone carried something beyond fear, finality. Salek's crew begged for retreat. But it was too late. A single beam of soft white light flickered from the human ship's underbelly, no explosion, no fire, no noise. The Etherian vessel dissolved into nothing. Its atoms scattered into the void, erased so completely that even the radiation signature vanished. The galaxy didn't hear about this encounter for several years. The Etherian fleet simply stopped reporting. No wreckage. No trace. Just a ghost in the archives. But others came. The Torgathi, self-proclaimed galactic conquerors, believed the Etherian disappearance was a fluke. They sent 1,000 ships to the Sol system, expecting an easy victory, a symbolic conquest of an unaligned world. The humans didn't answer their hails. The fleet positioned itself in orbit, preparing to strike. And then Earth vanished. Not destroyed. Not moved. It simply wasn't there anymore. The Torgathi's sensors went blind. Instruments fried. Warp cores overheated and failed. The stars distorted into spirals of impossible light. A pulse of energy rippled through the fleet, every ship frozen mid-space, time itself bending. Through the distortion, a single transmission played on every channel, in every language, across every neural interface. We told you not to come. The next thing the galaxy knew, the entire Torgathi armada reappeared, or rather, what was left of it, floating above a dead, airless world at the edge of the galactic rim. Their ships were twisted, warped into shapes no longer fit for physics. Their crew were gone. Not dead, not alive. Just gone. The incident became the first recorded warning, never attack the humans. You won't survive their wrath. But the galaxy doesn't listen to warnings. 200 years passed. Humanity vanished from the records, their systems sealed by gravitational distortions. No ship that entered their space ever returned. The other empires began to forget. Time made them arrogant. The Council of Aros declared humanity extinct. Their systems were deemed quarantine zones. Forbidden, but irrelevant. Until the day the Dominion crossed the border. It began as an accident. A scouting vessel testing new warp corridors miscalculated a jump and exited inside what the records labeled Sector 000, Soul Exclusion Zone. The pilot, a young Dominion officer named Kar-Uel, didn't even realize where he was until the sensors began screaming. The stars around him shifted. They weren't stars at all, but structures, titanic megasatellites orbiting invisible centers, forming constellations of metal and energy. Kar-Uel had never seen engineering on this scale. Each construct radiated a faint hum of quantum activity, synchronized in impossible harmony. He stared in awe, unaware that he had already been seen. Then came the pulse. A wave of data slammed into his systems, rewriting his sensors, hijacking his neural link. The words burned directly into his consciousness. Unauthorized incursion. Identify. Kar-Uel stammered through the comms, This is Dominion Scout 47. We mean no harm. We. The signal cut him off. Violation of Soul Exclusion Protocol 3. Article 1 Response, Eradication. Kar-Uel tried to flee. His ship jumped to warp, or tried to. Space didn't respond. The fabric of reality locked around him like a vice. Then the black shape appeared again, that same moondark hull, faceted and featureless, absorbing light, moving faster than perception. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't need to. It simply unwove his ship from existence, atom by atom, leaving only Kar-Uel suspended in a vacuum of golden light. He saw them. Humans. Or what they had become. They weren't flesh anymore. Not entirely. Their eyes glowed with nebular light. Their skin shimmered with circuit-like veins of gold and silver. They moved through vacuum as though walking through air, communicating without sound, their presence bending gravity. One of them reached out to him, and in a voice that carried across his mind, it said, "We warned your kind. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Leave this galaxy in peace." And with that, Kar-Uel was sent back, not teleported, but returned, his ship perfectly reassembled, orbiting his homeworld. His crew stared at him, pale and trembling, for they too had seen the vision. They thought it was a hallucination. Until every system in the Dominion went dark for 7 days. Every light, every machine, every city, dead silence. And across the Dominion skies, a message appeared, written in golden light. We remember. The Dominion's capital world of Koresh was built upon pride, endless crystal towers scraping the stratosphere, fleets orbiting in perfect formation, and a government that believed no species could ever threaten them. When the blackout ended and the skies cleared, they gathered their war council immediately. Kar-Uel, the scout officer who had returned from Seoul, was dragged into the hall, trembling. The chamber was vast, suspended within the core of a rotating citadel, ringed by holographic maps of the galaxy. The counselors loomed like gods, cloaked in light. "What did you see?" demanded High Chancellor Vernes, his voice shaking not with fear, but fury. Kar-Uel spoke softly, his voice cracking. "They are not human anymore, at least, not as we understand them. They exist as energy, as thought, as code, and will combine. They erased my ship and rebuilt it atom by atom. They spoke in my mind. They..." "Enough," Vernes snapped. "Hallucinations caused by quantum interference. The Sol system is an old ruin. We will send a proper fleet this time, and end these superstitions once and for all." The chamber buzzed with assent, but one figure remained silent. Counselor Driva, an elder of the Astran archives, raised her frail hand. "You fool," she whispered. "The last time a species declared war on Earth, the stars burned for centuries. You don't even remember the old war. You don't remember what the humans built beneath their sun. Her words were ignored. Within a cycle, the Dominion assembled a fleet, 5,000 warships, armed with graviton lances, void bombs, and antimatter lances. The most powerful armada ever launched. They entered the soul exclusion zone through coordinated warp channels, confident that whatever human legend existed would fall before the might of the modern galaxy. At first, all they saw was silence. Space itself felt heavier, thicker, like swimming through invisible oceans. The stars around Sol did not twinkle, they watched. Every planet in the system seemed motionless, as if time itself had slowed. Then they found the sun. It was wrong. It didn't burn like a star. It pulsed. Rhythmic, deliberate. Its corona flickered with geometric symmetry, fractal patterns forming and collapsing like machinery. Fleet Commander Saren ordered a full-spectrum scan. What they found beneath the sun's surface made their hearts stop. It wasn't fusion. It wasn't plasma. It was architecture. The star was hollow. A Dyson construct layered within a stellar shell, its energy output precisely controlled. It was not a sun. It was a machine. And as their scanners probed deeper, it noticed them. A low hum rippled through space, like the growl of something vast awakening from slumber. Gravitational fields twisted. Ships drifted off course despite their engines compensating. Saren screamed orders to stabilize position. Then the light of the sun dimmed, and from its shadowed surface, hundreds of glowing fissures appeared. They weren't solar flares. They were doors. From the core of the false sun, titanic shapes emerged, ships, if one could still call them that. Each one the size of a moon, forged from black light and golden steel. Their movements bent light, and as they emerged, the stars behind them shifted, pulled into unnatural orbits. The Wrath engines had awakened. The first wave of Dominion ships opened fire, beams of pure annihilation energy converging upon a single human vessel. The light vanished before it touched the target, absorbed by a veil of shimmering distortion. Then, without sound, the human ship fired. Not lasers. Not missiles. Not plasma. Just light. But where it passed, reality screamed. Dominion ships folded inward, collapsing into singularities before evaporating into silence. Thousands vanished in seconds. Saren could only stare. Impossible, he whispered. That violates all laws. A voice interrupted him. It came through every system, every frequency, every neural link. You were warned. It wasn't a shout. It was a whisper, calm, almost kind. And then, the Dominion fleet ceased to exist. Not destroyed, removed. From one moment to the next, space where they had been simply returned to stillness. Only drifting motes of light remained, floating like ash in a windless void. The survivors, a few hundred ships that had been farthest from the core, fled. But their drives were no longer theirs to command. Their navigation warped, forcing them into a single trajectory, out of the Sol system, across the galactic arms, until they reappeared near Aros Prime, the political heart of the Galactic Council. Each ship carried the same message engraved upon its hull in perfect golden script. We have shown mercy once. There will not be twice. The Council of Aros met in emergency session. Every species was present, the Serati, the Drathari, the Iri-Kun, the machine-bound Helix Confederation, all whispering the same question, what are they now? Archivist Driva stood before them again. They are what we made them, she said, voice trembling. Once, humanity begged for peace. The galaxy denied it. We enslaved their colonies, dissected their minds, harvested their worlds. And when they rose against us, we burned their skies. But they didn't die. They evolved. They built the Wrath engines to protect themselves, machines of divine precision that could rewrite reality itself. They vanished not in defeat, but in purpose. They went to sleep, waiting for the day we would forget. The council chambers fell silent. Then, slowly, the hologram of Sol appeared above the table. The system pulsed with golden light, no longer hidden. "They're awake," someone whispered. And then came the second pulse. Every system across the galaxy flickered. Sensors detected gravitational waves of impossible magnitude spreading from Sol, not destructive, but informational. It wasn't an attack. It was a signal. A message. Every star, every satellite, every ship, every network across the Milky Way spoke the same words in the same voice. "We are humanity. We remember." Worlds panicked. Fleets scrambled. Empires that once mocked Earth now activated ancient weapons. Across the spiral arms, entire civilizations broadcast apologies into the void, begging for parley. But the humans didn't answer. For now, they simply watched. Their wrath was patient. It always had been. Panic rippled through the galaxy like a living storm. Empires that had not spoken in centuries now shouted across comm channels, exchanging desperate theories, accusations, and pleas. The return of humanity was not simply an event, it was a wound reopening after millennia of denial. On the trade worlds, civilians stared at their skies as golden symbols shimmered through the upper atmosphere, strange geometries that twisted reality for moments before fading. On the fringe colonies, sensors registered gravitational fluctuations that mimicked heartbeats. Entire planets reported the same rhythm, pulsing in time with Sol itself. The Aros Council convened emergency summits, calling together fleets from every major power. The Grand Hall, normally filled with the arrogance of diplomats, now trembled with fear. No one spoke of conquest anymore, only survival. At the edge of the hall, the Astran archivist Driva watched the chaos unfold. Her old hands shook as she activated a forgotten data crystal. The holographic display flickered, revealing ancient images, humans in armor of steel and light, ships shaped like wings of fire, wars fought in silence across galaxies. She whispered, "The ecliptic fortress." Her aide looked at her in confusion. "What is that?" "Their ark," she said. "Their weapon. Their home. The last world they built before the fall. A mobile star system, forged in the black beyond the rim. It was said to drift between realities, waiting for the call to return." The aide's breath caught. "Are you saying it's real?" Before Driva could answer, every display across the council flickered. A transmission arrived, untraceable, but undeniably human. It was a simple image at first, the solar system, but wrong. There were more planets than before. Beyond Neptune, a vast ring of light rotated, glowing brighter and brighter until the image zoomed in. It wasn't a planet. It was a machine. A colossal ring world thousands of kilometers wide, orbiting an artificial sun. From its equator hung chains of light connecting it to smaller orbs, artificial moons, each one radiating power. The entire construct moved as one, drifting through the void like a living organism. Then the message spoke. Designation, Ecliptic Fortress. Status, Awakened. The words echoed through every mind connected to a commnet. Empires froze. War fleets halted mid-flight. The fortress itself began to move, slowly, majestically, out of the Oort cloud, dragging its artificial star with it. At its center, deep within its glowing rings, sat the core of human civilization reborn. Vast cities suspended in zero gravity, glowing rivers of plasma flowing through glass veins. The descendants of Earth, or perhaps the ghosts of their consciousness, moved through the air like motes of starlight, connected by networks invisible to the eye. From this impossible citadel, a council of humanity watched. They were not flesh as once defined, they were luminous beings, consciousness anchored in biomechanical forms that shimmered between matter and energy. At their center stood the figure once known as Admiral Yen Voss, now called the Keeper of Wrath. His eyes glowed with golden light, his voice resonating not in sound but in vibration that filled the chamber like thunder restrained. "The galaxy stirs," he said. They have forgotten what we became. They mocked our silence. They think us ghosts. Shall we remind them? A ripple of light passed through the gathered council. Some flickered with restraint, others with fury. Not yet, said another figure, cloaked in fractal light. The wrath engines remember blood. They will awaken fully if provoked. Let them speak first. Let them show what they have learned since they buried us. Outside, the ecliptic fortress began to hum. Energy resonated through its vast rings, visible from half the galaxy away. Every observatory, every ship, every scanner trembled as impossible readings filled their systems. The humans were aligning something, an energy pattern across the very fabric of space. The Council of Aros panicked. Armies mobilized. Fleets formed defensive grids. But none of their weapons locked. Guidance systems failed. Graviton drives refused to spin. The more they armed themselves, the more the universe seemed to resist. A new message appeared in their skies, written across auroras that stretched from pole to pole. You have forgotten the price of arrogance. The Dominion, now fractured and humiliated, decided not to wait. They launched the Second Crusade. 10,000 ships crossed the rim, ignoring all warnings, determined to strike first. The moment they entered the exclusion boundary, the stars went black. Their drives flickered out. Every light died. The crews screamed as their sensors showed the impossible, space folding into itself, distances collapsing, time staggering. And then they saw it, the ecliptic fortress, now fully awake, its rings rotating faster, golden arcs slicing through the void. At the heart of the fortress, human voices began to chant, not words, but harmonic pulses that rippled through quantum space. The sound grew until it became visible, waves of radiance that moved like tides. The Dominion ships opened fire. Beams of destruction lanced toward the fortress. They never arrived. The space between them had changed. Every shot bent, turned, folded, then vanished into spirals of nothing. The humans responded with silence. No counterattack, no explosion. Just stillness. Then, one by one, the Dominion ships ceased to exist. Not burned. Not shattered. Simply gone, erased from all records, their atoms scattered through probability. In their place appeared drifting petals of golden light, gently falling toward nearby planets. Billions watched from across the galaxy. Broadcasts captured the event before the signals themselves corrupted, spreading only static and one repeating tone, an ancient Earth melody, faint and sorrowful, playing through the stars. Archivist Driva listened from her quarters, tears falling. That song, she whispered. It's the human requiem for peace. They're not attacking. They're mourning. But the others would not see it that way. On the opposite side of the galaxy, the Helix Confederation began constructing a weapon capable of folding a star into a singularity. They believed brute power could stop the myth. They were wrong. As their experiment reached activation, the stars above their world dimmed. The light turned gold. A whisper crossed their systems. You have not learned. Then, without explosion or flame, the star itself blinked out. The system fell dark. And from the blackness emerged a new sun, smaller, brighter, and pulsing in rhythm with soul. Across the galaxy, the humans had not merely returned. They had begun to rewrite the heavens themselves. And for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy understood that wrath did not mean rage. It meant balance. But fear does not reason. Fear breeds defiance. In the coming cycles, 3 of the greatest empires would unite to strike back. They would call it the Last Crusade. They would not survive it. And deep within the ecliptic fortress, as the stars began to realign, the Keeper of Wrath whispered to his kind, "Let them come. Let them test the boundary of memory. When they cross it, they will see what humanity truly became." The galaxy held its breath. The light of stars shimmered with unease, as if the cosmos itself feared what was coming. Every sentient species felt it, a weight pressing against the boundaries of thought, a silent tension that reached across trillions of minds. And then the call went out. 3 of the greatest empires, the Dominion, the Drathari Alliance, and the Helix Confederation, forged an unprecedented pact. For the first time in galactic history, enemies of ancient hatred stood together under one banner. They called it the Final Accord, a coalition of survival. The meeting took place aboard the orbital citadel Vast Eternum, floating above the crimson world of Verith. Delegates from across the spiral arms gathered within its crystalline dome. Massive holographic projections of the ecliptic fortress hovered over the chamber, spinning slowly, its golden rings refracting across the walls. High Chancellor Vernez stood at the center of the assembly. His once arrogant voice now trembled with desperation. They are rewriting the fabric of the galaxy. Stars are changing. Worlds vanish without war. If we do not act now, there will be no freedom left, only their will. Admiral Koresh of the Drathari leaned forward, her scales glinting beneath the lights. We have built the weapon. It is ready. A gravitational superarray capable of collapsing a system into quantum dust. We fire it at Sol. No warning. No hesitation. A murmur spread through the room. Some were terrified, others eager. Driva was there too, standing in the shadows. You are about to commit suicide, she said softly. You think destruction can touch what transcended matter itself? They became something beyond your comprehension. Do you not see? You are gnats throwing sparks at a sun. No one listened. They never did. Within the next cycle, a fleet of 40,000 ships assembled around the weapon, a titanic construct floating beyond the rim, a ring of super-dense material encasing a star, designed to focus its death into a single pulse. They named it the Oblivion Lance. It pointed toward Sol. Across the galaxy, broadcasts declared the dawn of a new age. They told their people they would be safe again, that the human myth would finally end. Cities celebrated. Songs of victory echoed in anticipation of a war they thought they could win. But the humans were listening. In the quiet void between stars, sensors aboard the Oblivion Lance began to glitch. At first, just static. Then whispers. Audio that no one authorized. Voices that spoke in every tongue ever known, layered upon one another, until it formed a single phrase. You have forgotten the first law. The engineers froze. Their instruments screamed. The star at the heart of the Oblivion Lance flared, but not with normal light. It burned gold. On every fleet command bridge, panic broke out. Power readings spiked beyond containment. The gravitational fields warped. Their own weapon was turning against them. From deep within the ecliptic fortress, the Keeper of Wrath raised his hand. Around him, the inner core of the fortress rotated, not physically, but within higher dimensional geometry, folding spacetime around itself. His eyes blazed. Balance must be restored. The fortress's outer rings aligned. A pulse surged outward, soft and silent. The golden wave expanded faster than light, touching the Oblivion Lance before any warning could be given. To observers, it was instantaneous. The greatest weapon ever built simply, became still. Its energy drained into nothing. The surrounding fleets hung motionless, trapped within a field of perfect calm. Then, every star within 5 light-years dimmed. The humans had reached into the heart of their enemy's weapon and rewritten its purpose. Instead of destruction, it now became reflection. Every shot fired toward Sol would bend back upon its source. Admiral Koresh screamed orders, demanding a manual override. But the command center filled with light, not fire, not energy, but pure radiance. The crew's shadows evaporated. Their voices faded mid-breath. And the Oblivion Lance fired. The beam struck itself. It did not explode. It folded. The weapon imploded into a silent singularity of light, compressing reality until even the concept of existence broke apart. When it ended, there was only a vast, glowing ring drifting where the armada had been, rippling like liquid glass. The energy didn't vanish, it traveled across the void, to the ecliptic fortress. Its rings absorbed the returning energy like water to roots. The golden radiance spread outward, filling the galaxy with harmonic resonance. Stars flickered in synchronization. Nebulas shimmered in color patterns that formed symbols, human language, carved across the heavens. Archivist Driva watched the spectacle unfold from her observatory. She recognized the pattern. She wept. The message was not war. It was a eulogy. The humans had not retaliated. They had transformed the enemy's attack into creation. Converting death into light, destruction into beauty. Across hundreds of worlds, skies bloomed with auroras, and gravity itself seemed to hum with sorrowful music. But to the coalition, it was an insult. Their pride could not bear the mercy of their enemy. The remaining fleets gathered again, smaller now, but still defiant. They swore to end the human presence once and for all. On the command bridge of the lead Dominion dreadnought, Vernes stared at the hologram of Sol. If they want balance, he growled, then we will give them chaos. No mercy. No restraint. No surrender. As his fleet turned toward the exclusion zone, the stars around them flickered. The comm systems filled with static, and then a human voice, not mechanical, not distorted, but real, spoke. You have chosen extinction. The last transmission from the coalition fleet was received across dozens of worlds simultaneously. A scream, then a burst of golden static. After that, silence. And in that silence, the galaxy began to change. Every world that had sent ships to the crusade woke to skies filled with light. The stars realigned, their positions slightly altered. On each planet, symbols appeared on the ground, perfect circles glowing faintly in gold. On some worlds, people fell to their knees, calling them divine. On others, scientists tried to decode them. But Driva knew. She stood